uma gordurinha.
Tem todo um negócio, né?
É.
Você à toa agora que tá curto.
Muito legal. Cara, obrigado. Deixa eu só me apresentar para você, para a gente se conhecer um pouquinho. Então, meu nome é Carlos, eu moro aqui na Dinamarca tem 9 anos. Um dia eu te conto a jornada, mas resumindo, eu trabalho com empresas no mundo do e-commerce, tá?
Uhum.
Então, eu fiz toda a expansão. Meu negócio é fazer expansão internacional, criar redes e gerar experiências. Então, tem muito conteúdo, podcasting, criar redes estratégicas. Então, eu te falei do Ricardo, por exemplo, é um cara que só trabalha com eventos lá no Brasil, é o Experience Club. Então, né, eu crio redes estratégicas e outras marcas patrocinam, né, tem todo um trabalho assim. Cara, um dos meus clientes tem esse podcast hoje, que se tornou, tá com bastante peso, a gente está com 9 mil downloads por mês, é o E-Commerce Growth Show. Ele acaba alavancando muita coisa para o meu negócio também, tá? A minha empresa se chama Evolve. Então, dentro dos clientes aí tem a VTEX, eu não sei se você já falar, uma plataforma de e-commerce brasileira, né? Segmentify, PowerFront, e software houses que eu colaboro aqui também na Escandinávia, Brasil, né? Também Infracommerce. E é isso, pô, o seu conteúdo é incrível, acompanho já tem um tempo aí no LinkedIn, aí eu vi que você é brasileiro, né? Porra, eu falei que irado, cara, um brasileiro com uma história incrível. Então era isso, tá bom?
Fechado. Então vamos embora. Eu tenho um pouquinho mais de tempo, se você conseguir ficar um pouquinho mais aí.
Tá.
Não sei a sua agenda, só porque a gente acabou trazendo um pouco aí, que eu achei que começava mais tarde. Mas você me fala.
Tranquilo. Tá bom.
E também, se quiser cortar em algum momento, meu, o negócio vai esse tópico, entendeu? Se você quiser meio que dar uma cortada, vai me falando, vai me dando feeling aí.
Beleza, vamos lá. So, hello everyone, this is Carlos again with Evolve, and today we have a special episode with Diego Borgo. I came across Diego Borgo on LinkedIn. He's doing brilliant work on LinkedIn. You know, he's a metaverse native, Web3 ambassador, and NFT collector and advisor to global brands. And I always thought your content was really interesting, Diego, and I was very surprised that you're Brazilian as well. You know, doing with such an interesting community of Brazilians, such an interesting community of NFT followers and metaverse followers as well. So perhaps we can start with your journey. And the reason why I wanted to do this interview is that a lot of my customers and let's call it community as well, they are in the e-commerce /retail space. You know, we hear a lot about metaverse, we hear a lot about Web3, but I still feel that there's a lot of fluff out there. And, you know, your background is super interesting. So maybe we start with your journey, and then you have a course. I send some questions that can guide us through this conversation, but your journey, what led you to, to become what you are today, and to become like this big voice in the metaverse?
Thanks, Carlos. Thanks for having me. I'm stoked to be here, and really appreciate your invitation. My journey. So I've been consulting brands for the last 8 years in digital marketing, digital strategy, and branding. That's kind of like what I've been doing as an individual consultant for the last 8 years. My background as a whole, I started working when I was 16. I started working with in agencies, creative agencies. So my sort of like my core background is in creativity, strategy, and branding. And I doubled down on that after I left my last sort of like full-time job, and I've been working on that since the last 8 years. I've been in blockchain since 2017. So I first heard of the technology back in 2014 when Bitcoin was like $400 and people were presenting to me, and I was like, this is a scam. There is no way. This is a Ponzi. I mean, who thinks that this can become something, right? So back there in 2014, I couldn't really see through, and that thing just kind of like died out. But then in 2017, I got back into it, and then I got really excited about the use case of blockchain technology and how that could potentially shape the new web and shape the new world. But again, I'm not a tech guy, right? So I'm not in the investing side, and I'm not like deep into like the tech and the development of it. So I let that sort of like be on my brain, but I didn't went all in, into that space. And that all changed in April last year when I first heard of NFTs. I first heard of like this new Web3, and whatever that means. And then within that mind space of really understanding quite well about blockchain technology, use case, possibilities, what is being built on the back end, and then adding that layer of culture, creativity, branding, and the possibilities of art, music, and all the use cases that were existing back then in April last year, my brain just blew up, and I was like, wow, I need to go all in into this thing, because I was too young when e-commerce and the internet blew up. So I missed that opportunity. And I was always thinking throughout my life, I was like, oh man, imagine if you would have been well positioned back then, what you could have done. And then I was sort of like at early stages of my career when, social started to blow up, and I follow and I try to catch up on the way, but I wasn't well established. And now, since, I've been doing that for a long time and I've been in this position, I just didn't want to let it go, so I just went all in. So I was at Adidas for the last 4 years, consulting Adidas in the headquarters in Germany. And while there, I heard about NFTs. I had, a couple of friends that were in the space that were already trying to push the brand towards that direction. And I was part of the core team, so a team of about 20 people that brought Adidas into the metaverse, which was the NFT project Adidas dropped December last year. And then Adidas made 23 million in 24 hours, and the rest is history. Everybody wanted to replicate and do the same. I left the brand by December last year. And then since January, I've been basically consulting and working really deep into the space by my own, working with Fortune 500 brands, working with Web3 native companies, protocols, and NFT projects and metaverse projects, and doing a lot of education. I did a masterclass, as you just said. I do a lot of podcasting. I do a lot of researches. I talk with universities. I talk with people that are, diving deep and start building their MBAs. So, sort of like shape the academic future of this space. And I do a lot of talks on, internally for companies, but also at conferences and events. So a very long answer to your question, but that's kind of like how my journey went through.
No, it's amazing, and congrats. I think what I find it fascinating from like, may I ask you, how old are you today?
I'm 33.
33.
Yeah.
I'm 37, but you're still very young. I also, lived the boom of the internet, but I was far too young, like yourself, and social media. But I think what I see that you do really well is that you stick to your lane. So you really double down when it comes to metaverse, when it comes to crypto, when it comes to all of those topics on social media, right? And at least on LinkedIn, do you use any other channels also?
LinkedIn is my strongest channel, yeah, because that's where the people I want to talk with are,
Nice.
So that's why I use LinkedIn a lot. And LinkedIn is I think as TikTok right now is the platform to be if you want to reach people without having to put ads behind it. So it's really exciting to be there right now.
Cool. So perhaps we can start defining what the metaverse is not, because and by the way, we just had a small experience there. We were supposed to record there, but I thought it was going to be a bit of a risk, because I didn't know how to use the platform. But maybe you can start this conversation telling us what the metaverse is not, what, and what are the misconceptions that brands have about it.
Love it. I mean, that's a great topic, and it's an incredible question because there's so much confusion out there, and there's so much conversations around things that I don't necessarily, people are just making too complicated. Let's put it like that, right? So what a metaverse is not, on my point of view, first is not VR, virtual reality only, or, like the metaverse is going to be like Matrix. You're going to plug yourself in to this new experience or this new way of experiencing the internet, and it's going to be all about VR, and you're going to like get yourself out of reality to be in this space. I don't think that's the case. I don't say it could not become the case in the future because we don't know, but everybody thinks that that's exactly what it's going to be. And I don't think so. I've experienced several different platforms through the browser, through the phone, through applications, through VR, through AR. There's so many other ways. And I used to say, playing around that, thinking that the metaverse is VR only is the same thinking that the internet is your phone, right? Like your phone is a way you experience the internet as you do by many other ways. And that's exactly the same. Is a platform, is a tool, is a device that helps you to experience that space. So that would be the first one. The second one is that metaverse is all about gaming. And, obviously, if you think about gaming and how the so-called metaverse is right now, things are quite similar in a way, because people were just replicating already existing experience from gaming, like, Minecraft or, Roblox and Fortnite and so on. And they're calling that metaverse, which obviously is confusing. But aside from the fact that we are using a lot of platforms that were natively built for gaming now and calling them as metaverse because that's the hype and hot topic, I don't think that metaverse is going to be just about gaming, because there's much more you can do there, and game is going to be a part of it, a strong part of it, but definitely not the entire spectrum of what the metaverse is. And then the third thing I would say is that the metaverse is going to replace the real world. Everybody's like afraid of that Matrix like example, or that sort of like fear of how much this is going to be invasive towards our lives. And I tend to say that we are always afraid of innovation and the future as a species, as humans, because we don't like change, is in our core. And we said the same about video games and TVs and internet and phones and social media before, right? Mm-hmm. And that's replicating right now. I'm not saying that we shouldn't pay attention to avoid that happen, but I definitely don't think it's going to be as bad as everybody's portraying right now. So I think those are the sort of like three misconceptions. There's many others, but I just want to stop it there and get us to discuss a little bit more or go deeper if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if the metaverse is not about gaming, it's not about VR only, because I think after Mark Zuckerberg went there and talked about the meta, I mean, a lot of people started talking about how we're not ready, but I think what's happening, it is that we are building an infrastructure still. We are in the early days. And I think one of your videos, you have the loudspeaker, the metaverse, so funny, the metaverse. But we are just at the very beginning of everything. Like Amazon, they started with a bookstore, right? And now they have almost like a flywheel where they make, it's an ecosystem. It's like the infrastructure. So what the metaverse is, and like taking that as a segue to my next question is, what you talk about a cultural revolution. So what the metaverse is, and you always talk about a cultural revolution. So what's going on?
Right. Cool. So the metaverse, again, there's different school of thoughts, right? And that's mine. That's the way I define it. Other people say it's different. Other people say I'm full of shit. So there's different ways of putting it together. The simplest way that I find to explain it and make everybody feel comfortable to be at this conversation without feeling excluded because everybody's making it so confusing is that the metaverse is only a evolution of how we experience the internet. So it's a new evolution of how we experience the internet and how we connect digitally as human beings. It's that simple, right? We went from desktop, ugly, bad designed websites with horrible experiences to have like the phone and have like mobile applications and have a new way on which we can interact and we can experience the internet through the phone. Now the metaverse is bringing that to the next level. So it's a new iteration, an evolution of the internet and an evolution on how we connect as humans digitally. The way we are connected right now through Zoom is this 2D rectangle squared box that feels very far away from the way we connect physically on the real world. And the metaverse now comes to sort of like pose a solution or a new way on how we can do it. So when you talk about being a 3D environment or being an environment that you can touch things, that you can pull up a screen, that you can talk to each other, we can see each other on camera, but then you have an avatar. Your avatar can be dressed up. There's digital identity. You can be whoever, whatever you want. You can run around, you can fly, you can jump, you can, do quests together. You can send around set around a campfire and have a conversation as you do in real life. Like that's an evolution of how we connect digitally as humans. And that's all what it is. Whatever comes as technological layers, or it's going to be crypto, it's going to be blockchain, it's going to be centralized, it's going to be decentralized, which token, which company going to run it, it's going to be open source, it's going to be open, closed metaverse. Like those are all the tech details, and those are all sort of like the more, quote unquote, geeky sides of it, that for the masses, it doesn't matter. Right? It doesn't matter like which protocol the internet runs on. What matters is that we can connect and have a conversation on Zoom, right? So I think we need to take that layer of complexity, because this space was built by technologists, and we are not translating the message to the masses, and we're expecting them to come. I was like, oh, like when mass adoption is going to happen? Well, it's going to happen when we change the lingo. It's going to happen when we make it easier for them. It's going to happen when we take the barriers. It's going to happen when we talk about why this matter rather than what the technologies we are using. And that ties to your point of this cultural revolution, right? I talk a lot about it, and I believe strongly on that, because it's a wider thing. So when you look at Web3, for example, and then within Web3 you have blockchain, metaverse, and NFTs, for example. What I tend to say is that the way to predict the future is looking at the present. The way to predict the future is looking at the past, right? So what happens next is exactly what happened before. So if you look at that, you start thinking about how the revolutions were when it comes to medium and to the ways that people interact and communicate with each other, right? Print, TV, radio were medium revolutions that happened in the past, where technology has met a new way on which people can tell stories and how they can connect in a new medium. That's a cultural revolution. That's a technological revolution, right? When you think about the internet, the e-commerce and social media was the same. Was a technical revolution that gave people tools now on how they can connect, tell stories in a different medium. And that's happening exactly the same way with blockchain, NFT, and metaverse. Is a cultural revolution, because Web3 comes to change the mentality of how things operate. We look into, now there is a share of gains, or there is, I play with this concept of like Web3 equals win-win-win, right? So when all those you don't need to sort of like pay to play. You don't need to ask permission to join, because it's permissionless, and you can be rewarded by participating. That's a culture. That's a mindset shift, right? And then on the cultural side is a renaissance for art, is a renaissance for music, is a renaissance for creativity, is a renaissance for creator economy. Think about art by itself, because it was the first big use case and the easiest for people to understand. Like, artists couldn't make money before they were dead. The biggest and most prominent artists in history died poor and miserable. Think about Monet, Picasso, Van Gogh, all of them. People made money with their art after they were gone. And now is the first time in history, Beeple is a great example, that an artist is coming out, putting their art and making crazy money by selling their art while alive. And not just by selling the piece of art per se, but also taking a royalties cut or a revenue cut every time that art is sold and bought by someone else in the future. That's what's exciting. That's why the cultural revolution, that's why the technological revolution is so interesting, because you making the play field flatter. On social, for example, when you talk about creator economy, there is a platform that owns your information. LinkedIn owns my audience. If LinkedIn shuts me down tomorrow because I use an alien as my PFP, which is against their policies, my audience is gone. I depend on them. My voice just exists because they allow me to exist, and that's dangerous, right? So now this shift is happening, where we are obviously talking about the utopian decentralization and all of it, but it's a mindset shift. It may not happen on Web3, but maybe it's going to happen on Web4 or Web5. We're going towards that direction. The mind has expanded and there is no way for us to go back to, where it was before. So now it's a matter how we're going to build it. Now it's a matter how it's going to play out. Now it's a matter how this develops from here.
That's super interesting. I think the first business case, or let's say one of the first ones that I heard about was with Kings of Leon, the band, where they sold like I don't know, I think a small amount of NFTs. So they created and sold a small amount of NFTs. And what I understood from that is that people who would buy their album, that very specific album would have some rights over that, and they could claim that they were part of a very small group. And for me, the application, it's more like, we'll speak about community, but it's a new way of creating your own community and maybe coming closer to your favorite artists and that kind of stuff. Am I correct?
100%. And it's not just about music or art, right? And that's the work I do. I get exactly what you just say, and I go to a Fortune 100 company and say, now you can do that with your clients. Now you can do that with your customers. Brands have been brands for so long, and they're this like untouched entity that sits on heaven and is like, the holy grail, and nobody can touch. And we decide what we want our clients to buy or to perceive or to be part of. Whereas now the mindset's shifting. Now brands should be looking into this new space, this new medium, and this new way to connect with their clients, to co-create and reshape and design the future of the brand in a collaborative manner, because that's how you bring people together. That's how you become more relevant. The smartest brands in the world are the ones that are great at storytelling, like Nike, for example, like Apple, but also the ones that are great at collaboration, the ones that are great at getting the consumers closer to them and building communities around their brand, So 100%. And that's what is so exciting. And a lot of people are like, yeah, you could have done that without blockchain technology and without Web3. It's true. We could. A lot of it could have done without it. But the mindset is what's changing right now. I'm literally sitting in a boardroom of Fortune 500, Fortune 100 brands, and CMOs are saying, we want to work with this artist, but we want to make sure that this artist is getting a royalty every time our NFT is being sold. That's a mindset shift, which is insane, because prior to it, it would be like, yeah, just pay 10 grand to that guy, make him do something cool, and we make millions on top of it, and that's it. That's business. We can do it because we are the brand. We give exposure. And now that's changing. So, like the mindset's the main thing.
I mean, my mind is kind of like, as you speak, because, for example, you look at business models like Spotify, so they'll have to reinvent themselves as well somehow, right? Because they take a cut of the artist. And I heard a big discussion the other day there. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
Napster is coming back as a Web3 company. That says a lot. They want to see what is in for them. From a music perspective, let's stick to that then, since you want to talk about it, which is really cool. From a music perspective, imagine to be an artist that goes mainstream, you depend on the labels. And the labels usually have those crazy deals of taking like 60 to 70% of the revenue, because they're giving you a platform. And then you're making money with the concerts, you're making money being on tour, you're making money by selling merch, you're making money by doing other things, but you're not making money from your music, from selling albums. That has been that business model for a long time. Artists has been exploited to that point because the labels are the ones saying like, I can make you go mainstream, but gotta take our cut. Now, what's happening is that you don't need the middleman anymore. Now what's happening is that you as a musician can drop an album and you can pre-found that album with your fan base, should record, sell, distribute, put it out there. And as you said, there are different business models which you can go through, but one of them could be whoever owns those NFTs take a cut from the revenue that is being made from this album because you are an early adopter. You're no longer just a fan, you're an investor. You're part of what I do. We're a company, we're together now, right? There's obviously a lot of legal aspects to it, and laws are still missing. Is this a security? Is not, like, I get it, but let's keep on the theoretical aspect of it and the conceptual of, like, again, mindset shift. That's bonkers, right? You can literally now have a new way of engaging and networking and building communities and all of that. Not just it, imagine if you were the first 100 people to buy an album or a music from an artist that 5 years later blows up, and because you were there day one, that artist wants to keep giving back. Hey, 100 of you come to the backstage. You were there for me, now I'm gonna be here for you. I'm gonna bring you within this journey. So like there's so many possibilities because everything's on chain. Everything's there. It's immutable, it's on chain, it's transparent. You can always 20, 30, 40 years from now, if blockchain is not dead, you know, you can go back and see what happened.
Do you like beer?
I do.
Yeah, because I was in Scotland recently, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with the story of BrewDog, but that's what they did, kind of like, you know. So they had this community of raving fans who loved their brand, and they said, okay, you get a cut. You're going to be the investors in our brand, and I think they're launching also some NFTs initiatives now, and it's super interesting. I mean, it's
super interesting. And now you can do that at scale. You can do that at scale. You can do that in a trustless manner because it's on the chain. You can do that at a global level because anyone can take part of. You know, everybody can see the amount of funds that are in the smart contract, where this money is going to, who is part of it, either anon or not. You know, like what is being made, where the funds are going, which is really important. Everything's in there, you know. And now you can bring those people together. You can gate experience. So you can say, oh, you can only access this part of the website once you have this NFT on your wallet, and we have a connect wallet button, and then you can see that. If you want to explore that part of e-commerce and Web3 and what my gut says the future would be, I think it might be interesting as well for your audience, but I'll let you speak to it.
For sure, I'd love to. I actually would love to hear some practical applications like that you are already seeing, because you have set the scene, and I understand very much what you're saying, and you have a lot of passion in what you're saying and what you're bringing in terms of knowledge. So thanks for that. But in terms of practical business applications, if you have commerce brands, of course, you had the Adidas example, but maybe others that you're seeing, you know, like you're sitting on some interesting boards that I have seen on your LinkedIn profile. Can you please share what you're seeing, like from a commerce perspective? Maybe if you can't, don't mention names, but yeah.
Sure. I mean, there are probably three things. Let's stick to that. Yeah, let's stick to three things, which I think it could be really exciting. I mean, there's so many different use cases and possibilities, and I just want to make sure that I give the sort of like the most valuable thing to your audience. So let's talk about phygitals, gated commerce, and membership program. So those three things might be very interesting from an e-commerce perspective, right? So starting with gated commerce, right? One example, timepieces from Time Magazine. They're doing exactly that. So you purchase an NFT, and that NFT becomes the key to unlock the paid wall within their website. So if you own this NFT, then you can see, consume, and have access to that content. Interesting concept, right? You could argue that, well, but that's what membership programs always did when it comes to monthly subscription. Sure, the difference is now that I have purchased that and as an NFT, and I went to Times and I read the content, I'm not interested anymore, and I put that on the marketplace. If someone buys it from me, Times takes a cut because they put royalty on their smart contract. So there's a new business revenue that's created within that system right now. On top of it,
and if the price of the stocks maybe go up, maybe that grows in value as well.
It could. I mean, you have the investment and speculation layer to it, where people say, "Oh, Times just did a partnership with Timberland, as they did a couple months ago, a couple weeks ago. The price of that NFT might go up because there's a speculation aspect to it that thing's getting more and more exciting." Therefore, price going up, people buying and selling, Times make money because they take a cut every time someone buys and sells that. So what I'm trying to say here is that's the very beginning, right? That's one of the very first companies to do it. What I'm trying to say here with a gated commerce experience, for example, is that you have a new way of creating a new revenue stream. That if you want people to be trading and if you want that to go up in value, the only thing you have to focus on is how you keep adding value to it, how you keep making that more desirable, how you make that more exciting. And that's your job. Your job is to make people want to be part of what you're doing. And the more people want to be part of it, it's economic laws, price go up because there's more demand, therefore you make more money. So it's a very straightforward type of relationship where now it's possible from that timepieces point of view. But if you want to zoom out and look at macro trends and what I think the future is going to be, 5 years, hopefully less or maybe more, let's say 5 to 10 years from now, or let's say 10 to 15 years from now to make it more tangible. I strongly believe that every single website out there will have a connect wallet button. Every website. Now, think about personalization, which is something that's really exciting for e-commerce, but also one of the biggest pain in the ass to do it right. Amazon does it perfectly well, but is one of the very few brands that were able to crack it. And you can see the returns and revenue that is generated based on that, right? So what I'm saying, personalization, just to be clear, is you tailor the experience you have on your website based on consumers' interests and their previous relationship with that platform, right? Today, majority of it's based on cookies or, sort of retargeting or retracking data that, platforms are able to pull together. Now, with this new model of Connect Wallet within Web3 that, you can look, one, on-chain activity, and two, NFTs or any type of things that you hold within your wallet. Now you can sort of create a new experience within your website that is based on what the consumer owns. So you can create different personas and say oh, this person owns a Bored Ape, therefore they might be into basketball, music, or whatever. Therefore, I'd rather show something on top because that's, something that might resonate better with them. So now you have a new way of enhancing virtual or digital experience of your product based on, user behavior that's on chain and it's transparent and is immutable. So that's something I find really exciting. Another thing is you can, within that gated commerce example, you can provide experience just for the people that have a certain thing. So Nike could come and say, this is a new website we put up. If you hold an Adidas NFT, you can come here and you're going to be able to do something special that just Nike can give you. So you can guerrilla marketing, you can go there and steal consumers, or you can, go there and you are only able to purchase these if you hold that. Which brings me to the second point, which is membership program, right? So what I think is really exciting is how do we shift from this membership 2.0, as I call, which is the current status that we know about, which is gated, right? Nike has their membership program, which is just for Nike consumers, only for Nike products. Adidas has their membership program, which is just for Adidas consumers, for Adidas products and lives within their ecosystem. Now, how you go about creating a membership 3.0 where you open it up, where you can similar to what you have on a marketplace for NFTs or a marketplace like Uniswap for cryptocurrencies, for tokens. Imagine if you could swap tokens from Adidas, let's say AdiCoin or Nike Coin. You can go there and swap Nike Coin for Lufthansa Coin. And you can create an entire new ecosystem and an economy, which now is open and wider for royalty, for rewarding, for membership programs, and for loyalty programs, for example, which becomes more interesting because then, there is more value attached to it from a backend perspective. And again, if that membership is an NFT, then there is ways on which you can profit from that trading because people are going to be buying and selling. Maybe Nike's membership program is more expensive than Adidas and stuff like that. So I think that could be an interesting use case from gated e-commerce from there's a million of that we could drill down, but I think those two are interesting, and gated and membership. And then the last one would be phygitals, right? Because what's happening right now, everybody's just thinking why would I buy a digital only shoe? Why would I buy a t-shirt that I can just wear digitally, right? And my point to that is we as humans will replicate the same behavior that we have in the real world, also in the digital world, in the metaverse, and so on. As soon, and you experience that, as soon as you join the metaverse, the first thing you want to do is like when you play video games back in the day, like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, you want to be like, you want to be you in the game. You want to personalize that. You want to like put a shirt, you want to put the hair, you want to identify yourself with the character, whether you want to replicate one-to-one who you are, or you want to be whatever you want to be, that's going to happen. So as soon as that happens, it pulls the trend already towards the direction, which is everybody's going to be looking to self-expression within the space. And the way I dress up is to give you signs on how I want you to perceive me. That's why fashion is so important. That's why fashion is so big. That's why fashion is connected with culture, with music and all of it. Because people want to give signs, right? People are based on groups. They want to like, I identify with this group, therefore I dress this way, therefore the external world should see me with those values and blah, blah, blah. This is going to be replicated one-to-one within the metaverse as well. So digital items is going to be really exciting because now Gucci is going to come and do, a bag or a shirt or a shoe. And whenever you rocking around the metaverse, whether for work or for going to a concert or for meeting friends, you're going to be dressing up to give signs, right? And that's going to create an entire new economy, which is already happening. That's why all those brands are investing and doubling down. That's why they're hiring 20, 30 people, opening Web3 studios and all of it. They're not sleeping. That's why Nike bought Artifact, right? They bought Artifact very early, December last year, very early. Don't know how much is the amount, wasn't disclosed, but they put Artifact's logo right beside Jordan, Converse, and their own Nike logo. 4 brands, most important brands that Nike has, Artifact is just beside it, a studio that's like 1.5 years old. That displays already where this market's going, right? So phygital, in that sense, is the pairing of physical items with digital items. From an e-commerce perspective, imagine you are in the metaverse and there is like a shop or whatever for your brand. You can buy something in the metaverse and it gets shipped directly to your home as well as a physical item. So you have that pairing of items that now you can use in the metaverse, but you can also use on the physical world, or if you just want to have like you try out on a metaverse and then it's sent to your home as a physical item, because that's a way of enhancing e-commerce experience and how people shop online, that's a different possibility. You mentioned Amazon before. That's what Amazon is doing with the AR experience right now. You go there, you can see the product you are about to purchase in AR, right? Augmented reality. The metaverse is going to be a next step.
Hey man, this is really really interesting.
Sorry for my rant. I told you like there is no way to be short on answers in this thing. It's exciting, and that's just the few things I can see today. Some of them you could call me out and say, I don't think it's gonna happen, or I look back and it's gonna be stupid. But that's how exciting this is. It's just the amount of possibilities.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. I will tell you that I would love to have you in other events, and we will speak about this in private.
Let's do it.
But yeah, I'll have another meeting, and I would like to close this meeting with the following questions. You talk about communities and ecosystems, right? So I want to have your take on the evolution of ecosystems and communities. So how the world is evolving. We speak of, also, please let us know about your course. Some final remarks if people want to learn more about the metaverse, and NFTs, how they can get started, and that's it.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, really, really quickly on communities, which is a very deep topic, and we could talk a lot about it. But I feel, what you need to do to understand why the trend is where the trend is and where we're heading is basically look on what happened the last 3 years, right? Global pandemic, the world was locked down as a species, as humans, everywhere in the world were affected about it. And people start looking for, other ways of connecting and finding other people that they can, spend time with or be connected with. And that brought like community to, a whole different level. because people are like, oh, there is no one that does what I do in my area, but there is this person from like, Nepal that is doing it, and we're going to be connected now digitally, because now everybody has to be connected digitally no matter what, because everybody's locked down at home. So that thing accelerated exponentially community building and how people are getting together and connecting. That thing exponentially accelerated the metaverse, the demand for it, and the need for a new iteration of the internet, because the current UX we use sucks. And that's kind of like what the macro trend is shaping up, right? The why those things are happening. And what I always talk to brands, and what I feel is so interesting from a branding point of view, and from a commerce point of view, is that before you had fans or end investors, right? So if either you're a fan of a brand and you purchase products and you're excited about the brand, or you were buying stocks and you invest in that brand because you believe it. The difference now within this new medium and this new sort of like spectrum of blockchain, NFTs, cryptocurrencies, and metaverse is that now you have something in the middle where you can be a fan and you can be an investor because you bought into a project from that brand, but then you also becoming, a layer of that community because you were part of it. You want to push it forward. You want to create impact. You want to shape the future. You want to give feedback. You want to be an ambassador. So the relationship has created much more depth to it, because now more than just like rocking a Gucci shirt around, now you want to be part of that community that has the same values and like the same things that you do. And now there's a tool for you to be connected. Now there's motives for you to, and now the brand is there. And instead of like having this one-way conversation where you would get a CRM or you would go to the website and just get what the brand wants to tell you, now by being part of the community, you can tell the brand what you want to do. You can get together with your friends and suggest something. And if it's cool, maybe the brand's going to make it. And if the brands are smart, they're going to start tapping into those communities to co-create and reshape the future of the brand with the community, which is really powerful and exciting. So I feel like the opportunity for brands and the opportunity for like commerce right now is how do you gather community around your brand, how you use your brand as a platform to support this community, and how you truly deliver value without trying to monetize on the first date, which is a big challenge. Because everybody's like, yeah, let's create community so we can find a new revenue stream, so we can make more money, so we can grow. Like, well, that's not how community building works. So, that's a challenge. But in short, that's kind of like what I think is exciting about it, is a new way to communicate with clients, consumers, and how to use sort of like, I use that example a lot. We go from Web2 where we're seeing people as consumers, and consumers, the only thing they do is passively consume whatever you want to give them. And now in Web3, because of this mindset shift I mentioned, we go to communities, where communities, they're co-creating, they're collaborating, they're part of it. They're taking a stake of the real world. They're contributors. And that mindset shift, I think, is really important for brands to get so they can start building accordingly.
Awesome, man. So if people want to know more about the metaverse, your course, can you comment a little bit about your course? What's in there?
Sure. Thanks for that. I just launched a masterclass called How Brands Should Enter the Metaverse and NFT Space. That's 10 hours worth of content on demand, 2 hours of live sessions. I cover there's a short coverage of the basics of metaverse and what it is, and macro trends, and a lot of things we talked here, like numbers and which companies have done it, who is investing in it. But then we go really deep into like strategy, how brands can go about launching their project, what are the pitfalls, what to avoid, how to find tech partners, how to build communities. And we go really deep into all those elements, that I mentioned right now. We interviewed as well 7 or 8 people from Fortune 500 brands like Unilever, Volkswagen, Salesforce that are already doing stuff in the space. We interview Web3 builders that have been building in the space for a long time. I interview people from agencies all over the world that are working with clients and trying to help them to get into this space as well. I interview lawyers because that's a very important aspect, right? So what about IP? How do you go about in this new place? Which law applies? How do you sell digital assets for a country that blockchain or NFTs are forbidden, like China, right? So how do you navigate through this new ecosystem? So yeah, that's kind of it. from a content perspective, on the backbone of it, obviously there is a very strong community of people that are trying to do the same things that you want to try to do right now. People are connecting off the platform as well on LinkedIn or whatever, building together, hiring each other, supporting each other. So it's been really exciting to see. We've done the first wave already, 150 people signed up, and it's already live, it's already running. And it's really exciting to see, you know, like how that's shaping up. And now we're gonna open the second wave by mid-August, more or less, where we will sort of like build on top of it as well. So yeah, if you want to know more about it, it's NAS Academy, NAS Academy.com/Diego. That's the link for you to get to know more about it.
Awesome, man. Well, I want to first off congratulate you. I mean, your content is amazing. You're an incredible guy, super open as well. And definitely I will do my best to push it forward, whatever I have, tag you more if I see stuff with relevant people on LinkedIn and do some introductions. So Diego, thanks very much for this. I will definitely have you, you know, I'll summon you to join some other, you know, I have some interesting projects in terms of content. So definitely you're a go-to guy here in my list. So thanks, man.
Thank you very much. Thanks for listening.
Absolutely.